Welcome back to another edition of Sisterhood Book Reads. We are on chapter 4, Gabby. Both of Gabby's parents were from the Tataviam and Tongva nations. Before the depressing mission era, the Tongva had been residing throughout what is now forcibly known as Los Angeles County, parts of the IE, parts of the Orange and Riverside County areas, and 4 of the Channel Islands. Before the European invasions, the people of these areas were better known by their family clans and the villages where they were born, whereas the Tataviam nation lived mostly in Santa Clarita Valley up to the Antelope Valley's edge, and often married into the families of the northernmost parts of the San Fernando Valley. All of the local villages of these areas were known to marry about 7 villages out, which included marriage with the Chumash and other nearby nations as well. If I drew a map to show you where many of these California Native Nations territories were when the colonizers invaded them, their borders might look more like a checkerboard rather than a straight line. Both of her nations have their monthly board meetings. They have been trying to become federally recognized for over a couple of decades. Their treaties with the United States were signed and disregarded. The BIA had since been making the act of federal recognition and land rights a difficult task to complete. It's felt as though the United States' goals and hopes have been to take every piece of land while eliminating the existence of the Native Americans through murder, as well as the conversion of religion, lifestyle, relocation, blood quantum, and paperwork. The United States' teachings of blood quantum also make it difficult for the offspring of those who were from federally recognized nations to continue to be recognized when birthing kids of mixed nations. Gabby's nations were among many nations in the United States whose treaties were signed but not ratified. According to what they called the 18 Lost Treaties, many families across California were to reside together on large, isolated plots of land. After some families were gun-forced to sign, they were escorted by wagon with American soldiers or forced to walk to the reserve. The 50,000 acres set aside for Gabby's nations is known as Tejon Ranch. The U.S. soldiers murdered some families before they could arrive at that reserve. After the forced relocation, the treaties would go missing, therefore becoming non-existent. Indian Affairs Superintendent Edward Beale, who proved to be enemy of the natives, claimed the treaty land of Fort Tejon for his own, ridding the natives from the property. The treaties resurfaced 50 years later, never to be reinstated. Still, Native nations haven't stopped declaring themselves as sovereign nations. Nations also hold stories of land grants being removed by or wrongfully sold to the new coming people of great fortune and status, such as Charles Maclay. These true stories result in death and houselessness for Native people. Gabby's parents divorced when Gabby was 3, but they kept a mutual understanding for the sake of their kids. Dennis was Gabby's older brother and only sibling. Both kids chose to live with their mother. Gabby's mother, Tiffany, was Tataviam and Tongva. Both nations were known as Fernandeño after they became enslaved into the San Fernando mission, along with some Serrano Chumash peoples as well. Her father was Gabrieleño. Both Gabrielino and Fernandino are names that the First Nations people of the area had been forced into after the Spanish invasion and enslavement into the missions. The Gabrielino were mostly Tongva, although there were other surrounding nations such as the Serrano and Chumash nations who were also enslaved into the San Gabriel mission. Both of her bloodlines link her to the villages of Haltna, Almani, Pachecna, San Fernando, Pacoima, and Chacuayanga, Castaic Junction. Gabby had a raw talent. She was capable of writing songs within a matter of minutes. Once she started writing, it usually flowed smoothly. The quickest she had ever written a song was in 5 minutes. She also had plenty of notebooks that contained 1 or 2 sentence rhymes. When she got stuck on a song, she would go back to those sentences to see if she might fit any of them into her current writings. If she found a place to insert the sentences, She would cross a line through them to remind herself that she used it. Songwriting was one of Gabby's greatest passions. She felt comfortable in the recording booth. She had already written and performed a couple of hooks for some of her rapper friends. Gabby always had fun writing hooks for other people. She made it look effortless. They would play the beat with their verse or an idea for her. She would close her eyes and listen to the words while moving her head to the beat. Gabby would open her eyes, place the pen on the paper, and scribble a few lines down. Gabby would start singing what she wrote to the beat until it sounded like a match. After singing it a couple of times, she'd say, "Okay, I think I got it." She'd sing it again with confidence. Everyone agreed that was it. Then she'd hit the booth and record it for them. Being in the studio was like a high for Gabby. She loved the feeling of singing into the microphone. She loved listening to the finished product. It gave her a sense of pride. She had so far only recorded hooks for other people. Her cousin Mark had a studio set up in his room. Mark made a deal with Gabby to trade recording sessions for hooks. She was itching to finish the process of recording her first solo album. Although she had a ton of songs, she wasn't quite ready to complete her album. Gabby was saving her money for beats and copyrights. Like most kids of the hood, Gabby had a problematic and at times traumatic childhood. Gabby adapted to life around violence, drugs, and gangs. One of the OGs in her neighborhood heard through some youngsters, including her best friend Trips, that Gabby was down for them and that she should get put on the hood. The OG took a walk with Gabby to pick her brain and see where she stood. Gabby explained to him that she had every intention to be a singer and a massage therapist. Gabby further expressed her fear of gang life getting in the way of her music career as far as travel went. The OG respected the words that came from Gabby's mouth. He told her he had never heard a youngster speak with so much assurance. He then said, "You got a good head on your shoulders. If anyone bothers you about getting put on the hood, let me know. They'll get handled." It took a long time for Gabby to realize that the colonial enforcers influenced the behavior of her community from the trauma as well as lack of education and resources made available to them. After many conversations with Isela, she realized that much of the trauma came as a result of colonialism, which introduced harsh living conditions and behaviors such as rape, theft, enslavement, imprisonment, and murder. Also, for generations, the colonizers have kept the laws one-sided. The first generation of colonizers went as far as making up laws to arrest natives. As time progressed, they wrote laws that would only allow people of color to live in certain areas and not in others. They made sure alcohol was easily accessible to the natives and blacks from prospering or growing. With all of the brainwashing and hatred showered on the community of color, the communities kept this vicious mental cycle of believing that they are supposed to live poorly and undeserving, with little income, the struggle to provide a home, food, or water. The majority of these families also never had or accumulated the resources to heal from these genetic and personal traumas. Few people throughout the generations do mentally and physically break free from these stigmas. When she was 7, an elder stared into Gabby's eyes and said, "It's believed among spiritual beings that the human beings who endure some of the hardest and tragic experiences will make for the greatest guides to healing, if they can come to terms with their experiences." By the time she was 8 years old, Gabby was aware of both of her abilities. She spent her days alone in ceremony, connecting to herself and learning more about her gifts. Gabby's other gift and passion was bodywork, which she learned at the age of 8 while in ceremony with self. She had to wait until she graduated high school or become 18 to take a massage course and become certified. In the meantime, people would ask her to help them when they were in pain. She didn't have a table or equipment, so she would lay a blanket on the floor and have them lie down. She would work on people of all ages and body types. People were amazed at how fast their bodies would heal after she worked on them. In most cases, it was immediate relief. She didn't only help people through body work. She did energy work and guided mental healing as well. Often, Gabby sang or hummed to her clients while working on them. People found it easy to talk with Gabby. It didn't matter who she was with, they felt a sense of comfort with her. They would instantly open up to her and find themselves speaking about their most personal and intimate life situations. Gabby would listen, only giving advice when asked. She loved the feeling of knowing that she carried the capability of helping people to heal themselves. Gabby often thought about ways to bring healing to Native country. Gabby, Lori, and Isela had endless conversations about what healing practices were needed and how to bring it to the community. Their community was filled with many very spiritual and ceremonial people, as well as angry, hurt, and lost people. The mental healing and reversal of the colonial mindset are what they agreed was needed the strongest. They often practiced techniques on each other. They would debrief amongst each other to figure out what worked best for each of them. Gabby practiced many of these techniques on her clients with a high success rate. Although some of her clients called her a healer, she would gently explain that she was not a healer, but a guide, and that each of us has the ability within to heal ourselves. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one.